Other M Issue 1. Sadly, this fan comic hasn't been and never will be completed, not even by fans who would want to continue it. But it's worth looking at since Flynn wrote it before the actual comic, even if the art is disappointing. We start out with Sonic in what I guess is the Death Egg, spin dashing around the outside of it, and the next thing he knows, he's in a dark room that gets lit up, revealing that he's surrounded by Shadow Swap Bots with Eggman in front of him. I don't mind Eggman looking kind of silly sometimes here, because really he was supposed to be a kind of comedy villain after all. Eggman says that he'll show him his scheme before killing him because he wants to brag. He presses a button and makes electricity get generated between two checkpoints, revealing a portal. Sonic just immediately assumes that it's a portal to the Zone of Silence and insults him for trying the same plan again when I remember it causing a black hole problem for Robotnik last time. Eggman has to tell Sonic that it's not the Zone of Silence, but a simple portal. I like how he explains that it's taking advantage of the weakened zone boundaries caused by the Ultimate Annihilator, so it feels a little bit more justified that he can suddenly make this thing. Though Robotnik did venture to the Antiverse once on a whim. Sonic says that's still old hat, and I don't blame him because Robotnik once traveled to Anti-Angel Island. Eggman says self-awarely that he'll defeat him in a hackneyed plot. I don't see how it's hackneyed, as the ultimate insult. And says before that, what better way of getting rid of you than without much of a show? Makes sense, since he's not doing this in front of an audience. It was kind of odd of Eggman to have a sense of humor about himself, just agreeing with Sonic that the plot is hackneyed when I don't see anything wrong with it. It looks extremely genre-savvy to me. Why didn't he do this a long time ago? You can't have narcissistic giant dictators be self-aware. If they were self-aware, they wouldn't be narcissistic evil dictators. Sonic spin dashes around, attacking some swap bots. Did I mention that I love these robots? They're so cool looking. It's really nice to see them again after so long of them just being inconsiderately forgotten in favor of the normal swap bots for nostalgia baiting reasons. Eggman swats Sonic in his spin dash. And just as I was about to completely insult the fact that he should have injured himself from hitting his sharp spines, Eggman says to a robot, "Give me a bandage and a bottle of champagne, for tonight we celebrate," while his hand seems to bleed subtly. I love how he's so casual like that, not even screaming in pain or whimpering because he wants to look menacing instead. That's great characterization of Eggman. Also, Sonic had tried to spin dash directly at Eggman here, which should have killed Eggman, and if Sonic was okay with trying to do that, he should have done it a long time ago. Sonic gets flung into the portal, and it's entered to what I assume is a black and white Mushroom Hill zone. I can only give the benefit of the doubt and assume that I'm supposed to believe that zone is supposed to have no color, and it's not just the colorist being lazy. Someone with a mask and a sheathed sword that I'm assuming is Alternate Sally pushes him out of the way of an explosion and throws him to the grass. It sure was lucky for him that she was there to save him. Then there's a loud sound, and suddenly we see an eye-patched being telling him to get up, calling him an idiot. Where did the other person go? Was that him? Sonic seems to reach for a flaming metal hand or something. It's hard to tell what's going on with the art being monochrome and not even shading to have some stuff look distinct from each other, which wouldn't have taken that much effort. A laser hits a wall and Sonic panics, saying, "Your arm!" as Bean continues to stare at him. Well, maybe it's not Bean the Giant. I don't know why I'm assuming that so easily based on the art. He tells him that his arm's been like that for months, calling him an idiot again as if he was supposed to know that already. Which he thinks that he was. He tells him to get moving because the Dark Legion is right on top of them using grenades. When Sonic asks for clarification that it's the Dark Legion of this universe, he's told sarcastically, "No, the Legion of Friendly Marshmallows." While the art may be crude, I can already tell there's great writing in this, because the dialogue is pretty humorous. You can tell there was a lot of effort in it. More of this effort is shown as he reveals that the Dark Legion naturally have a different name over here, the Legion of Justice. Of course they call themselves that. Bad guys are supposed to think they're in the right. That's why they should have named the technology supporting Dark Legion instead. Either that or the Technology Legion, since Legion of Justice just makes me think of Superman. It's explained that by coincidence the Dark Legion was the hero's nickname for them. And he says ours, so maybe he's mistaking Sonic for his own Sonic. They run away from some lasers, one of which I think destroyed a hill, and an alternate Knuckles shakes his fist. Sonic says happily that he's never run so fast in his life. I guess he was carrying Bean the entire time to let him keep up with him. And he panics at the cool concept that out of nowhere his feet has been roboticized. Why would just his feet being roboticized make him faster and not his legs as a whole? I like Sonic as a cyborg, if only because I already read a Metal Sonic fanfiction that made me warm up to the idea of having a robot leg, and angsty about it naturally. Bean headbutts him and asks him what year it is out of concern for his confused behavior. Sonic says that it's the year 3224. I love that they bothered to give us the canon year. The canon comic barely did that. Sonic is asked if he knows where he is, and Sonic guesses that he's on the floating island thanks to the big mushrooms. Why isn't he calling it Angel Island? I guess the story takes place before it was renamed that, so before he went into space as well. Sonic says he doesn't know who his partner is, and he guesses that they're fighting against Eggman. As I wonder why Sonic isn't telling him he's from an alternate dimension right away. I don't know, maybe he thought he wouldn't believe him. He says that he's loyal to King Acorn, rather than listening off his friends like Sally. He just says King Acorn, because I guess that's the most important one. I mean, for all he knows, this is an alternate dimension where King Acorn is evil, and that would have gotten him in a lot of trouble. We see Angel Island on the ocean, and Sonic is asked if he sees all of these smaller waters that lead to this pool. Why hasn't he been reminded of who the name of this person is yet? It's harder for me to write about him if I don't know who he is. What if I'm wrong assuming he's an alternate being? I mean, the art isn't making it entirely clear. I like his sarcasm at least. He's told that the smaller waters are how they can remember the entrance to their lair. Lair? That doesn't sound evil at all. That would be interesting, a more villainous group of freedom fighters. All of the little streams represent them and the freedom fighters like them, disconnected and seemingly nothing. And he's told that one day they'll all join together and have their kingdom whole once more. Sonic, can you just tell him what happened to you, what you want already? When he dives into the water, Sonic naturally doesn't follow him since he's afraid of drowning and can't swim. He's forced and dragged into the water, sent to an underwater cave, and the guy swims back up to the surface, and suddenly the art has a lot more effort put into it. In the middle of the page, we see some civilians walking around like it's nothing with an alarm going off in front of some water. Bunny looks really happy, so okay, that random bunny girl is actually an alternate bunny. This is a problem with Bunny's design without her long hair and cowgirl suit. She looks too much like any generic rabbit character without it. Bean calls her Hun, and the two adorably hug, with Bunny saying that when the team got broken up by the grenades and they beat him back here, she assumes the worst. I can see where Flynn got his idea for the alternate Bunny and Bean relationship in a certain story arc. Fascinating. He shows his soft side by shushing her and reassuring her, and the alternate Antoine snarks, "Ha, the rat did something worthwhile for once." Naturally, Sonic is angry at this unlikable jerk and says, "Yeah, well the next thing I'll do is shut you up permanently, Ant." I don't see why an alternate Sonic would have the reputation of someone who never does anything worthwhile. So I guess this is Antoine being uncomfortable from jealousy of him, and wanting to feel better about not being super fast by demeaning Sonic's worth. As unlikable as this jerk is, I really love seeing Antoine and Sonic having a rivalry again. Antoine being an antagonistic hero to Sonic was what made him interesting, even if it made me hate him at the same time. I doubt Sonic plans to kill him, so he should really not bother with death threats like this since he's just making a fool out of himself. Antoine tells him that he just outlived his funny factor, while Rotor smirks, proving that he's evil in this dimension. And everyone looks worried, with Antoine having a metal big arm or something. No, not really. We see someone say to break it up, and this reveals eventually that, oh, Sonic was being clutched by somebody's mitt. So which one is this person supposed to be? Well, Antoine calls him Bark, so I guess he's Bark. Antoine, of all people, says that Sonic's been a laugh because of how useless he is for long enough. Again, how could any alternate Sonic have the reputation of being useless? But Bean wasn't questioning why Sonic could run at the speed of sound, so it's not like the alternate Sonic that disappeared wouldn't have that super speed. This reminded me of how Scourge gradually lost the respect of the anti-freedom fighters, being told that he used to be such a go-getter, just because he couldn't immediately figure out how to get past the force field. Rotor, despite clearly smirking at Antoine threatening Sonic's life earlier, says that he's not worth getting his sword dirty, and Bean tells him to save it for the Legion, or the Chaotix. So the Chaotix are evil in this dimension. Either that or this group of heroes is evil, which would make sense with Antoine being evil. An alternate universe, more shady freedom fighters, Bean and Bark being part of the heroes, I'm really intrigued. Antoine says yes sir right away, so Bean is clearly the one in charge here, and Bean tells Sonic to get to his bunk and stay there, and he'll get a doctor to check on his memory. Again, why isn't Sonic just telling him the truth instead of getting him all worried? It would be fine if Sonic just explained in a thought bubble that he thinks he'll lose the support of these guys if he revealed who he really was to them. And they might be his only chances of getting home, just like why Antoine pretended he was Patch. But that's not explained. Bark is told to take Sonic to his room, and Sonic wonders why he suddenly has this vest if he was transported here. And that's what happened to his feet. He asks in his thoughts, if it's not the actual me that came through that portal, then who am I? So Sonic actually got his body switched with another Sonic's. This soul switching would explain why Sonic experienced the film noir universe through the glowing detective suit portal, except at that issue Sonic wasn't questioning anything. So it was more like it was an alternate Sonic and Sonic was seeing through his eyes silently, I guess. I hated that issue. This issue, of course, was by Ian Flynn, and wow, this is really well written right away. I mean, wow! Where do I begin? How about the fact that it's set in an alternate dimension? Already that gives the writers some forgiving wiggle room, where he can rewrite characters and story concepts and the setting to his heart's content. Antoine being murderous like Patch, Bean and Bark being part of the Freedom Fighters, with Bean being a humorously snarky tsundere, he's a softie to his girlfriend Bunny, and Rotor smirking at Sonic being threatened by Antoine, and the main villain is the Dark Legion, which is called the Legion of Justice, officially, as a better name. All of this is just fascinating. Haven't seen Fiona yet though, I thought she was a big part of this. It was weird that the Sonic they're all familiar with was useless and they hated him, when he must still have super speed, so why would they ever think he's useless and not one of the members of the team who don't have special powers? That's hard for me to swallow. I mean, even if he's not fighting robots all the time, which would be the best use of his super speed and spiny ability because he could destroy them, while fighting against organics would incline him to hold back or be traumatized, he'd still have super speed, he'd still be able to run circles around them and effortlessly win any fight. I loved how genre savvy Eggman's plan was in sending Sonic to another dimension just like that, and how he actually got hurt from catching a spin-dashing Sonic with his hand in a reality ensues moment and tried to avoid showing pain, being as menacing and casual about it as possible. It was such great writing! The problem with this story is really just a superficial one. That once Sonic is thrown to the alternate universe, but before he comes out of the lake, the art is not only black and white, which, fine, I can accept that, and only changing to black and white when they go into another dimension feels right, but the art is also not shaded, when that takes 2 seconds. So it was difficult for me to figure out what was going on in action-heavy scenes and stuff. Like, it looked like Sonic just went back to the surface of the same lake he was forced into. It looked like he was outside, but now he's inside a Freedom Fighter base instead. On the bright side, like, if you hate the art and hate looking at it in my review, you can at least, like, just listen to the commentary and imagine that the art is actually a lot better. Which I'm doing right now as I'm saying this review, reading the script, and it's working pretty well for me. Also, I hate that it's not really explained why Sonic doesn't tell everyone who he really is. It's probably because that's a safer option for him and they might not believe him, but I don't expect Sonic to be that cautious, think before you act type. I expect him to be impulsive, just immediately tell them who he is and expect them to keep him on the team and help them because he's super speedy. I mean, if his alternate self has such a bad reputation that he was about to get killed, you'd think he'd jump at the chance to tell them who he really is, even if they might not believe him. It was also really interesting that Eggman made Sonic look just like the alternate Sonic, and I assume vice versa, so no wonder the Zone cops aren't catching this. So yeah, that was a great story. It's weird that the art completely fluctuates 3 times in the span of 1 issue, which is especially weird because the Archie Sonic Online issues, I think they're made by different artists in the span of different stories, and I never noticed the difference. But yeah, like, the art sucks, but whatever. I'll try not to mention that as much as possible. And there's lots more issues after this, like, I think there's 30. It's hilarious that this is a fan comic, and already this looks way better written than Worlds Collide or some of Flint's official work. Issue 224, anyone?